That's the way. Okay. Lovely to see you. If you can't see me or if I drop out for any reason, please, if one of you just come on and let me know. I'm going to get you just to start with your feet nice and wide, stretch out through your toes, soften your knees, and then start to take your hands up towards the ceiling and take some deep breaths in, drop the shoulders, stretch your fingertips up, give yourself a tiny back bend here, really pushing down and out with your feet. Take another deep breath in, and then as you exhale, take the hands down and just let your head drop. And then scoop up through the heart center, push the floor away as you breathe back in again. And then again, exhaling. So you have to push the floor away, scoop your heart up so we don't put pressure through the lower back, and then releasing again. And just doing this a few more times so we start to get a bit of movement through the legs. And we pull the breath right up underneath the armpits. Let your head drop and then scoop it up, pushing down and out with your feet. Wonderful. And staying up this time, just grabbing hold of one wrist, up and over, stretching the side body. Take another couple of deep breaths here and pull the breath right up underneath the armpits, right into the back of your lungs. Soften the knees. Exhale, come up and over to the other side. Tummy button to spine, shoulders away from ears, pulling that breath right up from hip to armpits. Stretching the ribs. Good morning. That's the way. And then coming back again and just giving yourself a swish. A nice twist for a wake up for the central nervous system. Let the shoulders be nice and relaxed. Bend the knees. And we're going to come through a couple of sun salutations this morning to wake up the body and get us into that state of gratitude for, for what we do have, for this body that can get up out of bed and move, the opportunity just to move and be in our own space for an hour, get ourselves set for the day. Wonderful. Roll those shoulders, nice big lubricating rolls through the shoulders, and then coming towards the front of your mat. My hands might chop off, so I'm going to keep turning so you can see me a bit better. Stretching those toes out, soften the knees, and again, slowly this time, taking a breath in. So we're going to slow the breath in, almost Tai Chi-like with your movements, and exhaling down. Keep the heart center lifted, so we're not coming all the way down yet. Breathing in, breathing out. See if we can breathe in for about 4 counts. Pause at the top of the breath in, and a smooth breath out. And just like when we're doing the swishes normally and we feel as if we're pushing our hands through water, imagine treacle of water and you're pushing your hands as you move with them, and you're pushing down and out with your feet as well. So you're very much in contact with the earth. And this time, full breath in, pause, and then as you exhale, hands just above the knees, crown of the head forward, so you lengthen into that L shape. Start to push down and out with your feet. Pause here for a moment, shoulders away from ears and tabletop. Good. So lifting those sit bones a tiny bit more. And then as you exhale, folding yourself forward, hands down on the ground, stretch your hands nice and wide, and then step yourself back into downward facing dog. And first down dog of the day. So make it very sort of mobile. Walk your heels down. Have a little dance over your feet. So mobilizing from one foot to the other, rolling those shoulders away from your ears. Get a movement through your spine. Great. Lifting those sit bones for a moment, dropping those heels just for a moment, creating a lovely big lengthening stretch through the spine. And then looking up between your hands, dropping to your knees and taking your right foot forward. And as we inhale, coming forward with the hand, and as we exhale, just drawing the hand back. So taking your right hand onto the knee to stabilize. If you've got a wall nearby, you can always put your hand on the wall. And slowly coming a little bit deeper each time into your lunge. And taking the hand up that little bit more. Inhaling and exhaling. And next time we come back on the exhalation, pause and then bring your toes back. So imagine your tail is being drawn back and up. Pull the toes back to get into those hamstrings, maybe give them a bit of a rub. Now squeeze your toes as hard as you can and then pull your toes back and then squeeze them as hard as you can and pull them back. So do a couple of these. Woo. That's it. And then coming forward, dropping your right hand down on the inside to pushing your elbow back into the knee and then opening the chest here. Imagine you have that orange between your shoulders and you're just kind of squeezing it a bit and then take some big circles with that left arm, mobilizing through the rotator muscles, big lubricating circles, and then leaving the hand up towards the ceiling. Drop the shoulder away from the ears and take some nice full breath in, stretching the breath again right around the lungs. That's the way. And taking both hands down, knees together for a little drop of the hips over one side and then the other. Mobilizing the hips. And then taking that left foot forward and same thing. So we're lengthening forward as we inhale, back as we exhale. And we can start pretty small and then allow the movement to become that little bit bigger. I'm just going to turn around so you can see me here. Back, forward, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit more of a back bend, making sure you're lifting up out of the waist. And transitioning, if you haven't already, into the Ujjayi breath. So you start to really hear that ocean-like sound being pulled into your lungs and pushed out of your lungs by the diaphragm. Coming forward, pausing, and then slowly coming back. Pull your toes back with you, lifting your sit bones behind you so we create that openness through the sitting bones, stretching through the pelvic floor, and pulling those toes back to get that hamstring stretch, and then squeeze the toes, and then pull them back. And squeeze them, and pull them back, especially the little toe. Squeeze them again, pull them back. Wonderful. Dropping forward into your lunge again, this time left hand down on the mat, turning the chest so we get the elbow right into the knee there to stretch into the inner thighs, and then maybe hand up towards the ceiling. Nice twist through the upper back. Take this top hand and give it a big windmill, breathing slowly, fully. Ocean-like breath. That soft Darth Vader. Beautiful. Coming down, taking both knees together again, hands wide, and then elbows in, and just caterpillar yourself down onto the ground. Hands right underneath the shoulders, inhaling the breath into those lungs, letting the chest lift, exhaling down. So remembering, it doesn't matter how high you come up, we are wanting to get that breath to inflate the lungs, and it's that that is bringing us upwards. The hands are very light on the ground. The tops of the feet are pressing into the ground. Wonderful. And down again. Now take your hands back behind you towards your toes. And as you inhale this time, the whole back body is awake. It's alive. The fingers and toes are stretching back. Crown of the head stretching forward. I am awake, you say. I'm awake, I'm awake. And then dropping down. And give your pelvis a little wriggle. And we'll just open up the quads. So taking the right hand just underneath the forehead, roll the left shoulder back, grabbing hold of your ankle, mobilize your foot. So just roll it around a bit in one direction and then the other. And it doesn't matter if your knees are wide away from each other. It does matter if you're holding onto your toes. So try to hold onto your ankle or use a belt so that you've got a little bit of extra space between your ankle and your hand. And then I'm going to get you to take a deep breath in. And using the Brahmahara breath out, the buzzy bee breath out, start to buzz and then press your pubic bone down into the ground. So we create a stretch through the front of our thigh, those quads. The slight sliding sensation of the knee drawing away from the body as well. So breathing in. Keep going with that. That long buzzy bee exhalation is helping just to transition the brain into the rest and digest, that calm state. Breathing in again. And with the sound, just drop that side, try to go into the stretch. So as you create the sound, press the pubic bone down even more into the ground. Swapping to the other side, roll the shoulder back, grabbing hold of your ankle, roll the foot around to mobilize the ankle, visualizing that synovial fluid, just lubricating the joints. Imagine there's water swishing around these joints, oiling them. That's it. And then flexing your foot, chin's tucked in so you have that nice long cervical spine. Breathing in, and then as you exhale, buzzy deep breath out. Good. Breathing right in, stretching into the groin as you push the pubic bone down. Very nice. Dropping those feet, hands just underneath the shoulders again. Pressing yourself back into your extended child pose. So fingers are on the ground, but wrists are off the ground. Lengthening the underside of the arms, stretching those sitting bones back, creating that lovely long stretch through the spine. So this is what we're looking for in downward facing dog as well. And then coming up onto hands and knees again. You maybe need to roll the hands for a moment. Shoulders away from ears, tucking those toes, exhaling back into downward facing dog, pressing the heels right down into the ground. That's the way. Getting a nice kind of rocking sensation from one side to the other. And then looking up between your hands and stepping forward, keeping the toes slightly in, hands just above the knees. Crown of the head is lengthening forward again into that tabletop position. Base of the ribcage drawing in, sitting bones are lifted. Breathe in, exhale down. And then pushing the floor away, lifting through the heart center, pressing down through those heels, lifting fingertips up, and then drawing the hands down through the heart center, pausing for a moment. And just returning to the Ujjayi breath, that lovely ocean-like breath, making sure your positioning is nice and tall. We've got that sensation of being lengthened out through the crown of the head. You're pushing down and out with your feet. And the base of the shoulder blades are heavy, so the shoulders are right down away from your ears. Wonderful. We're going to come through that again. So as you inhale, stretch those fingertips out, 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 lifting up. As you exhale, folding forward, hands just above the knees. Inhaling into your tabletop. Pause here for just a moment. On your next exhalation, folding forward, hands down, framing the feet. Stepping back with your left foot, stay high this time. So back toes on the ground, heel is up. Make sure that the knee is on top of your ankle with your front foot. And take the hands just above the knee. So we're squeezing thigh muscles into thigh bones here. And then lift the heart, rib cage coming away from pelvis. And taking the hands up if you've got your balance, otherwise hands on hips. Your eye gaze, your drishti, straight ahead of you, but soften the muscles around your eyes. So consciously soften them and let the eye gaze be kind of lazy feeling. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. Press back with the heel, lifting right up through those fingers and taking a few smooth, victorious breaths here. Beautiful. Slide your back foot down onto the ground and split your arms into warrior two. You might need to shuffle your front foot forward and side to the side a little bit. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. Fingertips are active here. And then turn the palm of the front hand. And as you inhale, straighten your front leg. Take the hand right up and over you. And then as you exhale, forearm on thigh, back arm up and over. Drop the shoulder right away from the ears. Side angle. Turn the chest slightly. Now we're pushing knee down through shin, down through heel. So front thigh working really actively. You might need to pull your femur back into your pelvis slightly if you're finding you're just going really low. So be very careful, especially if you're hypermobile, that you don't just kind of flop into this. Wonderful. Taking that top arm, placing it down onto the ground, sliding your front foot back so you're coming into your downward facing dog. Shoulders away from ears. I'm just going to turn around so I'm facing you here. Good. Shoulders right away from ears. That's it. Lifting those sitting bones, using downward facing dog as a rest. Looking up between your hands, taking your left foot forward this time, making sure your toes are spread. You've got a nice wide base, hands just above the knees, pausing here. So we're using this position to get some good bone strengthening contraction with the muscles right into that thigh bone. And then as you start to press your heel, the back heel away from you, start to lift your rib cage up away from the pelvis as well. And taking the arms up towards the ceiling if that suits, otherwise hands stay on the hips. Little fingers forward, thumbs back. Shoulder blades dropping down your back. So keep imagining those weights at the base of your shoulder blades. There's lots of space between your ears and your shoulders. So we're keeping our balance. We're squeezing, holding this weight-bearing pose. Strong breath, full breath, energizing the body. So you're consciously sending that energy, that prana, around your body. And then hands down again, framing that front foot. Oh, sorry, don't do that, come back up. We're going to split the hands, coming into warrior two. So dropping down warrior two. Now, this naughty front knee often wants to do this crazy stuff, so don't let it. Make sure knee stays on top of ankle. Make sure your torso is not forward or back. Torso is bang in the middle of your legs. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. Your eye gaze is stretched out through those middle fingers. Let the jaw become really soft here. Let the eye gaze become even softer. And then turning the palm of the front hand as we inhale, coming into archer, stretching the front line of the body. And as we exhale, forearm on thigh, back arm up and over, side angle, Parsvakonasana. Turn around again here. And then making sure that the chest has a little moment to open, upper back twist. When you come into the twist, make sure knee doesn't drop forward. Connecting with the little toe edge of your back foot and right up into those fingers. Smooth breath here. That's the way. And then taking the hands down again and dropping both knees to the ground. Knees close and let the hips rock from side to side. Releasing into that IT band. Smooth breath. Good. And then little circles. So start to draw circles on the ground with your tummy. And then allow those circles to become bigger and bigger. And let the elbows be soft and let the shoulders be soft. So there's no holding in the upper body. And you can feel the whole of your back mobilizing. Swadhyaya. So keep your focus just underneath the skin surface of the whole of your body. So you're keeping consciously feeling into the body. Swadhyaya is this note-taking, this self-observation. We're taking the circling in the other direction now. And we're just noticing how the body is feeling at this moment in time, in this present moment. How the mind is. Now, the mind is not who we are. So we're just observing the mind, the quality of the mind. Are we feeling fuggy and heavy, or are we actually feeling all right, not too bad? Noticing how the wrists are, lower back, hips. Beautiful. And then giving your hands a little flick, we'll just open up into the upper back. So take the hands together on your mat. And then lifting up through the right arm, take the right arm right up towards the ceiling and then drop your shoulders. So we stretch the front line of the body, but we squeeze the shoulders towards each other. Take another breath in, and then as you exhale, take that top arm and thread the needle. So take the arm right underneath your left arm, drop the forearm into the ground, drop the shoulder into the ground, turn your head and tuck your chin right in. So there's no pressure through the head. It's just very gently placed on the ground. And then take the left arm up towards the ceiling, if that's okay for your shoulder. If it's not, keep the hand on the hip and elbow back. And if your hand's up towards the ceiling, once again, mobilize those wrists. So take this opportunity to turn the hand, stretch the fingers out, mobilizing in one direction and then the other. And then taking the hand back down on the ground and taking the right hand, stretching the right hand up towards the ceiling, getting that lovely upper back twist. Beautiful, taking the hand back down onto the ground. Give both wrists a bit of a shake. And then left hand into the middle of the mat. As you inhale, taking the right arm up towards the ceiling, shoulders dropping away from ears. Pause here. Taking that top arm. As you exhale, hang on. I think I've just done the wrong side again. So you guys do the side that you haven't done already. I'm doing the opposite to you. So actually I need to be this side with my right arm, your left arm pushing down and the right arm coming up towards the ceiling. Sorry about that. So whichever side you haven't done, doing that side now. And mobilizing the wrist when the hand's up towards the ceiling, mobilizing one direction and then the other. That's the way. And then taking the hand down on the ground and lifting, lift arm up, stretching here. Wonderful, and then coming down. So I'm going to start to strengthen the core now. As we drop back with knees quite wide, feel the inhalation in particular dropping down into the pelvic floor. So knees are wide, we're getting a bit of a stretch through the inner thighs as well as through the buttocks here. Shoulders away from ears. As we come forward, we exhale through our mouth as if you're blowing out through a straw so that we can start to get a good core activation from the pelvic floor and then into the deep transverse abdominal muscles and the extensor muscles of the back. So keeping the arms straight, they don't move. On an inhale, we drop back, and as we exhale, we draw forward. Shoulders stop just above the fingers, and then dropping back again as you inhale. Exhaling through that straw, lifting through the pelvic floor, then coming back and towards the spine, and then dropping back down again. So keep the arms straight. We got that nice pressure through the wrists now, strengthening pressure, and through the arms. Coming forward. So the feeling as if you're stopping yourself weighing and drawing tummy button kind of underneath your rib cage. Up and sucking up. Good, and back. Now, you can either remain doing this version or take a little tricep dip as you come to the end of that exhalation, breathing in and then breathing out again to come up again. Down to inhale, exhaling forward, inhaling to dip, exhaling to push up, back on the inhalation, exhaling to set, inhaling to dip, exhaling, pelvic floor lifting, core lifting, back to inhale, release. Forward on the exhale, dipping, and then exhaling. So we always use the exhalation on exertion. Breathing in and then breathing out. To come back up again. Just another couple of these. Beautiful. Taking those wrists off the ground again, fingertips on the ground, shoulders right away from ears, and allow those sitting bones to be nice and wide here. So pause for a moment, stretch out through the underside of the arms. Good. And then folding the forearms, take your bum up towards the ceiling, and this time drape your chest down towards the ground. So we're getting that puppy dog stretch. Keep the chin tucked in, either forehead on the ground or turning the head to one side. And as we exhale, we just create that wonderful squeezy stretch into the upper back. And then coming back up again. Good. Shoulders away from ears. So just noticing, are your shoulders being agitated here, or are you okay? So if they're being agitated, just back off and do something that is going to be okay. Maybe a cat and cow for you, or you can come onto your back and do some core work on your back. So just be very, very mindful. I'm going to get you to come onto your fists, though, if you're okay to do this. Onto your fists. So we're like a gorilla. Shoulders are away from ears. Elbows a little bit soft, so we're not locking elbows. Making sure those of you who are hypermobile, you're not locking in here. the eyes of the elbows are facing each other. So we're going to do the same kind of lifting through the pelvic floor and then into the core. And then as we exhale again, we're going to float the knees just off the ground. So almost, you won't be able to see my knees coming off. It's just a sucking sensation. The shoulders are set, chin's tucked in, long cervical spine here. Breathing out to draw in through the pelvic floor muscles, zipping right up underneath the rib cage. Breathe in, and then breathing out again, pushing the floor away with your fists so that we get a tiny kind of feeling like we're lifting the knees off the ground. If you come too much like that, it's just too much pressure on your arms. So instead, we want to focus the pressure, the lift through the pelvic floor, and that real sucking sensation of core muscles coming in towards your spine. Wonderful, good. Bone strengthening, weight bearing through the arms as well. That's it. And then coming down. Wonderful. Shoulders, release, give your hands a release here. And then tuck your toes, just come up, we'll just give ourselves a break in camel pose for a moment. So tucking those toes, press the knees into the ground. I always like to imagine there's a string, I love strings, strings from your pubic bone and from your heart center that are drawing you up towards the ceiling. So we're not just kind of pushing ourselves back. Instead, we're working on lengthening the spine. So take the heels of the hands onto the pelvis like so. And as you push your knees down into the ground, start to feel those strings lengthening you upwards. Keep the elbows drawing together. Keep those shoulders broad. Good. So keep that the kind of sippy breath coming from the heart center out towards your shoulders. Little sippy breath. Wonderful. If it does feel great that you're feeling like you want to come back, it's one hand onto one heel and then the other hand onto the other heel. And you can allow the head to drop back too, but only if that feels nice for you. If that goes into your lower back, you're staying with the hands onto the pelvis and really focusing on those strings lifting. Good. So wherever you are, if your hands are down, place one hand back onto the pelvis and then the other hand. And then everyone, feel as if the string from the crown of your head now is pulling you up towards the ceiling. So you stretch the vertebra away from each other, really lengthen upwards. Pause here as you drop the base of the rib cage down. Now, we want to keep this sensation when we come into pointed dog. So come down onto hands and knees again and allow your spine to stay in that lengthened out state and allow your corsetory muscles to stay switched on. Keep your knees together for this one and feet are flat initially. Now stick your left foot out behind you, push out through the heel and squeeze that left gluteal muscle. And then place all the weight onto the left hand and stick the right hand out in front of you, thumb up, little finger down. So looking down at the ground, keep breathing. If you feel very comfortable here, you're not rocking from side to side, try challenging your balance by bending elbow and bending knee, and then see if you can just push the heel up towards the ceiling. There are little pulses where you're squeezing your left glute, little pulses here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tummy button to spine, so we're not mobilizing into the lower back. Little pulses here, stretch out again, and then drop the knee down onto the ground. And do a little circle with your pelvis. Imagine your tail is behind you and you're doing a little loop with your tail, one direction. And then the other, like a very, very happy dog. Good. So if you're wobbling, you stay as pointed dog. Don't try and add the extra little bit. That's just if you're feeling like, oh, I could just hang out here and we want to challenge ourselves. We're constantly having to focus on the body as opposed to what you're having for breakfast. So sticking the right foot out behind you now, squeezing into the glute, taking the left arm out in front, pausing, stretch out through fingers, stretch out through heels. And then if you want to challenge the balance, just bend the elbow, bend the knee, and do some little squeezes here. Ooh, so you're feeling it in the butt as you do tiny little pulses with the bottom squeezing into that right glute. That's it. And then stretching out again, dropping down. Now take your hands a little bit wider. Drop your hips right back. So I'm dropping my hips over to the right to start off with it to about 5 o'clock. And then stretching fingertips out to about 11 o'clock. So we get right into those glutes. and then horseshoe your bottom to the other side and stretch out. So now the sitting bone is dropping down to about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and the fingertips are at about 2 o'clock. That's it. Whew. Very nice. Beautiful. Come back again. Now take your right knee in front of your left knee and toes out to the side. So it's like coming into cow pose. Your toes are your cow ears, like that. One knee in front of the other. And then you just walk your fingertips back and drop your pelvis back between your feet, just to a point where you feel the stretch here. We won't come all the way back, just until you feel it in your glutes, like that. So dropping back until you go, oh yeah, I can feel that this morning. Good. Oh yes. Wonderful. Okay, so for a little trick to really get into the front of the pelvic floor, which is harder to get into than the back of the pelvic floor, as you come forward, take all the weight into your front knee. Mine's my right knee. So front knee, and then press your back knee into the front knee and then lift up through the pelvic floor. So we get a little squeeze through the inner thigh muscles and then right up into the pelvic floor. And then you can just drop back and relax your pelvic floor. I stupidly didn't go to the loo before the class, and I've had coffee and 2 glasses of water, so I need to do this one because my bladder's saying you need the loo. Right, feet out to the sides. So taking now your left knee in front of your right knee, or the other way around if you've done the other way around already. And then again, dropping back until we can feel the stretch into those hips. Ooh, shoulders away from ears. If this one's not appropriate for you, just find something that feels okay. So you could sit down instead and have your feet just crossed and then be leaning forward. You're still going to feel that nice stretch into your hips. So if ankles or knees are not allowing this one to happen, please adapt. And then as you come forward, you squeeze the back knee into the front knee, so the weight is in the front knee, and you give your pelvic floor a little lift. Whee! And then back down again. Wonderful. Let's just roll onto our backs here and take knees up. Take your hands on top of your knees and give your thighs a big roll. So we're rolling outwards to start off, as if you're stirring your femurs, your thigh bones into the pelvis. One direction and then the other. Very nice. Good. And then place the feet down onto the ground. And as you exhale, just tilt the pelvis. So like doing cat and cow, tilt the pelvis. And then as you inhale, let it rock back again. So you have a little gap underneath the lower back. And then as we exhale, we squash the gap away. Inhale and exhale. Just mobilizing the pelvis back and forward, like so. And then we're going to start to add a little bit of the heels pressing into the ground. So as you exhale, push the feet into the ground and start to peel a little bit up through the spine, and then down, 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 down through the spine. Relax the buttocks, get that little curve through your lower back. Press into the floor, peeling up as we exhale, inhaling, rolling back down again. So getting that nice mobilization through the spine. That's the way. And then next time you come up, keep coming up a little bit more and roll the shoulders away from your ears and then draw them towards each other, elbows a little bit closer. So you're pushing right down through the heels. Make sure your toes aren't turning out doing funky things. We want to have the middle toes facing straight forward underneath our knees. You can either press the palms of the hands down into the ground, or if it feels nice for you, maybe interlacing the hands and pressing the forearms into the ground. And that's it, into bridge shape. Just noticing how the more you push your heels into the ground, the more you'll feel it in your glutes. Whereas if you push the heels into, if you push the weight into the front of your feet, notice how now the pressure is put into your knees and your quads. So that's a little clue as to when we were doing our squats, why we need to make sure the heels are pushing into the floor as we come up. And then slowly, slowly rolling back down again and letting the back settle into the ground. Now, if your lower back's feeling a bit grouchy, I want you to come back to the rocking. and then just the peeling up and down again. If you are feeling a little bit stronger at the moment, we're going to push back up again. This time, walk the feet towards each other so that the big toes are not touching, but nearly touching. And we're pushing through the heels, making sure those gluteal muscles are switched on. Now push all of your weight down through your right heel. So really get that contact so you can feel the right glute is switched on. Get lighter through the left glute. And then stick your left foot out, toes towards you, heel away from you. Palms down on the ground for balance. Try not to let your pelvis drop. Good. And then as we exhale, push the heel up towards the ceiling. That's an extra little bit of challenge. We want to get the hamstring stretching as well as working on the glutes, bit of balance work. Smooth breath, working all the stabilizing muscles around the pelvis. And then foot back, transfer your weight, pushing down firmly through the left heel, sticking that right foot out in front of you. Keep breathing. Take the foot up towards the ceiling, strong through the glute. Wonderful. And then back down again. Come up on your toes for a moment. And then slowly, one vertebra at a time. So try to make this 2 or 3 breaths to slowly, slowly peel downwards with the vertebra. Take your feet together, let your knees drop out to the side. Just pausing for a moment so we stretch the inner thigh muscles as well as those psoas muscles here. And you can take the hands onto the tummy and feel the breath right down into the bottom of your lungs. Letting the belly rise and fall here. Just letting the back settle. That's it. Good. Okay, draw those knees together. Take your feet a little bit further apart. Now press the heels into the ground as you peel your pelvis up, and then squeeze your knees and your thighs together. So just go squeeze, 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 release, roll back down again. Exhale, coming up, squeeze, 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 release, roll back down. So just a couple of these, lifting, squeeze, 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 release, lowering down, thumb muscles switched on. Take the feet up towards the ceiling, toes towards you, heels away, pushing the pelvis into the ground. And rub the back of your legs and get right up into the insertion point where the hamstrings connect into the glutes. And then turn the feet out so we get that sort of stretch, that nervy stretch through the outside of the legs. Very good. Take the toes back again, and then split the legs apart to rub the inside of your legs, those inner thigh muscles. If it's too much here, just bend the knees slightly, and you can still get that stretch through the inner thighs. So if you're out here, push out through those heels, make it a dynamic stretch. Wonderful. Take the hands on the outside of your legs. Now, we're going to draw the legs together, so we know this one. We draw in through the pelvic floor. We zip up through the pelvic floor as we help those legs float together, and then stretching out. So exhaling, drawing in and up, and then inhaling to release. Exhaling, drawing in and up, and releasing. So we can do the same thing with the knees bent. That's just a little bit less pressure. That's it. Use your breath. And again. And again. 2 more. Beautiful. Just bend those knees so that the knees are directly on top of the pelvis. Base of the ribcage drawing in. If you find that your head is dropping back, make sure you do slide a blanket underneath your head. Okay, so take the hands on the outside of the knees. Press out with the knees and in with the hands. So the knees are hip width apart, toes are back. We're just switching on these abductor muscles here, the outer thigh muscles, shoulders away from ears, squeeze those biceps as well. Keep the breath moving, so consciously making sure you're breathing through all of this. And then taking the hands into fists, taking the back of your fists onto the inside of your knees, shoulders away from ears again. Start to press the knees in as you push the back of your hands into your inner thighs. Base of the ribcage drawing in, pelvic floor is lifting. Working on those adductors, inner thigh muscles. Also here into the triceps as well. And then take the hands just above the knees, flat hands. Good. And this time, as you start to push the knees into the hands and the hands into the knees, pelvic floor is lifting and you're zipping right up right up towards the rib cage. Tummy button coming in towards spine. Keep breathing. So this is quite a strong contraction, just like when we're on all fours. Beautiful. And then take those feet right in towards your groin again. Knees drop out to the side. Take the forearms onto the inner thighs and press outwards so you're in a butterfly stretch here. Really lengthening and letting the breath become quite soft into the pelvic floor muscles. Take those feet up towards the ceiling, stretching into your baby pose. Fingertips either on the ankles or on the shins, or maybe reaching into the inner parts of the feet, the arches of the feet. If you're here, drop the shoulders back onto the ground. Try to keep the chin tucked in, and then massaging from one side to the other, as if you are pulling on parachute strings. Beautiful. Drop those feet down to the ground. So keep the feet wide, arms out to the side. Dropping both knees over to one side. You press down through the top knee. So we're stretching right from the knee, right across the thigh and right into the hip. And it's quite nice to turn the head in the opposite direction. Then up and over to the other side, getting that lovely twist through the whole body. Very nice. And then slowly coming back. Come into a little ball here. Tuck yourself into a little ball and start to rock and roll up and down your spine. So we're creating a wonderful waking up mobilization through the back line of the body, stimulating all the nerves that connect into the spine. And then cross your ankles and come all the way forward. See if you can shuffle yourself straight into a downward facing dog. So you have to do a little bit of, a little bit of shuffling there. Downward facing dog. Lifting those sitting bones. Shake your head side to side. Let your belly be soft here. Roll those shoulders away from your ears. Stretch those hamstrings. Stretch those calves. Lift those sitting bones. And looking up between the hands, step your feet so they are wide. So coming into that high squat. So, high squat, we are down low, but we're high with our hearts. Elbows on the inside of the knees, pressing outwards so we create that lovely stretch through the inner thigh area. And then we're going to rock it up slowly. So making sure you don't flop out with your feet. Your feet need to be strong here. Exhaling, slowly coming up, arms down, rolling. And then just shake your sillies out. I'm going to get you to take all your weight onto one leg and just give yourself a little Elvis rock and roll to immobilize into the ball and socket joint here. And then the other side, rock and roll, rock and roll. Good. Not long to go. So let's just give ourselves a little bit of a coffee sort of hit. This is like having an espresso. Take your feet to the hip width apart. Stretch your toes out. Imagine you've got your feet sinking into sand, wet sand. You want to get that sand squishing through your toes. And then take the arms out in front of you. Draw the shoulders back into the sockets and keeping the knees on top of your ankles. Lift your sitting bones. Imagine someone's behind you with your tail. Drawing your tail back, shoulders away from ears. Lifting sitting bones, lifting heart, lifting those fingers to counterbalance. So we're just going to do a couple of squats here. As we exhale, we push the basketball ball away and drop back down again. Exhaling, push that basketball away, drop back down. Make sure that as you come up, it's the heels, just like when we're on the ground, that are pushing down into the ground so that we feel this, working on our glutes and working on the hamstrings as opposed to the knees and the quads. Down and up, down and up. And we know this dynamic toning through the pelvic floor, through our corsetry is all good. One of the most fantastic things you can do for women's health overall is good aligned squats here. And exhaling. Do two more. One. And exhaling. Beautiful. Arms down. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. And I'm going to get you just to release those glutes in a balance. So if you've got a wall, stand against the wall. Hopefully you've all got a wall. Stand against the wall for a moment. I won't go through the whole standing tall against the wall. I want you guys just to do it quickly because you've all done it so many times. So you press down and out with your feet. You press your bum back. You keep your knees soft. Shoulders are back. Push the orange between your shoulders into the wall. Press the back of the hands into the wall, forearms into the wall, ridge of the head into the wall and up. So you're pressing back, down with your feet, up with the ridge of your head. Just take a breath or two here so we create that imprint of the wall into the back line of the body. Good, and then stepping away, rolling the shoulders, rolling the head. So keep that length through the torso. Take all the weight through your right leg, my left leg. Place the ankle on top of the knee, just above the knee. Take the hands together in prayer. Push the hands together so that your shoulders come towards each other, and then drop down into your figure 4 balance. So we're going to keep lifting those sitting bones behind us, spreading the sitting bones. Make sure the standing knee doesn't flop out to the sides or come forward. We don't want to feel it in the knee. We want to feel the stretch right into the glute. Good. So keep the eye gaze soft again. Imagine all the little muscles around your eyes are softening. Smooth breath. Drop the knee out a tiny bit more and then swapping to the other side. So see if you can stay low. Keep pressing the hands together for balance. Make sure both feet are active. Keep breathing, dropping down. If you've got a wall beside you, you can always put your fingertips on the wall to help the balance. Shoulders are really soft. Very good. Smooth breath. Oh, feel that stretch in those glutes. Good stuff. Slowly coming up. Very nice. Tree pose. No, let's do dancer. Let's do dancer instead of tree pose. So, I'm going to come sideways. So Joe, Julie, those of you who've got lower back stiffness, it's much more about opening up the quads, opening up the psoas muscle than how far you can come into a back bend. So crown of the head is lifted. We're coming first of all into our Tadasana, and then taking all the weight into your right leg, squeezing thigh muscles in, roll the left shoulder back in order to grab hold of your ankle, flex your back foot and draw the knees as close together as possible, and then take your thumb and your first finger of the right hand out in front of you. Now this, staying here, is perfectly wonderful. So taking the arm out to counterbalance, drawing the knees towards each other, and then just starting to slide the knee down towards the ground so you get that good quad stretch. So you might slowly start to press the ankle into the hand, and this might be enough. So we're lengthening rib cage away from pelvis, but we're making sure we don't hyperflare here. Tummy button still drawing in towards spine. And then come maybe a little bit further, just checking in. Does that feel good? Is that okay on my back? How can I make it better? And then maybe coming deeper into the pose, if that feels nice for you. So once again, squat higher and not a himsa. A himsa is violence against ourselves. So we don't want to do something now that is going to make us feel bad later. So sticking with whatever feels good for you at this moment in time. Then coming back, pause for a moment so you can feel the difference from one side to the other. And then transferring the weight into that left leg, grabbing hold of the right ankle, squeeze the knees towards each other, start to draw the knee down towards the ground. Letting the eye gaze, the drishti, be focused on a point in front of you. And then over these next few breaths, you just slowly come into your version of dancer today. Making sure that smooth breath is your anchor. Teaching us that when we drop into our stillness, it doesn't really matter what is happening in our lives. Those fluctuations, those difficulties become so much easier to cope with when we know that there is always that continuity inside of us, that stillness. Slowly, slowly coming down. Good. Give your legs a shake. Shake your sillies out. And then taking your sitting bones against your bit of wall, feet away from the wall, and just walking the sitting bones up the wall. So you kind of doing a funny walk like that with the sitting bones and dropping the head down, hanging with the arms folded. So if we are grouchy through lower back, we might need to just stay with a little bit of extension through the spine. So hands on shins, still hanging forward, but not folding so much through the lumbar spine, keeping still a tiny bit of extension through the lumbar spine here. So either folding like so or folding like so. And letting the exhalation become long. Pause, pause, pause at the end of the exhalation. Pause, pause, pause. You might find you can just walk the sitting bones up another 0.5 millimeter. Yeah, and maybe sway from side to side. And then bend the knees slightly, take the hands onto the ground, take your feet a little bit wider, take one hand onto one hip and then rotate. So just give your spine a little rinse out as you twist it, looking up towards the ceiling. And then release down, other hand on the ground, other hand on the hip, and rotating, mobilizing the spine. Wonderful, coming down and resting in Viparita Karani. So bottom on the ground, hip against the wall, sliding feet up the wall, and allowing the back to settle into the ground. So you feel all the extensor muscles of the back, which support your spine now, being completely held. If you can turn the palms upwards and take some very conscious, long Ujjayi breaths. And as you exhale, feel the back muscles softening even more, even more, even more. Feel the pelvis is spreading, allowing the weight of your legs to help the pelvis just settle into the ground. Good. If you're dying to practice shoulder stands, now is the time to do it. So if you are a shoulder stander, but otherwise just letting yourself settle for a few minutes here. But shoulder standers, feet into the wall, peeling up, shoulders towards each other, hands on the back of the pelvis to start off with. This is half shoulder stand, nice place to stay. Otherwise, we just take one foot up and then the other foot up towards the ceiling. And taking a few breaths here. If you're practicing halasana or a dropping down, then by all means doing that now. Just making sure you don't move your head. You don't have too much pressure through the neck. Most of the pressure is through your elbows and upper arms. And if you are in the shoulder stand version, just slowly coming back down to Viparita Karani and the next few breaths. So consciously allowing the body to integrate the practice, closing the eyes. Feeling just underneath the skin surface. Try to take a snapshot of the whole of your body. Feeling into your toes. Feeling into the nails of your toes, your toenails. Feeling into the space between each toe. And then drawing your mind's eye through the soles of the feet. And down through both the back and the front of your legs. And down to the pelvis. And drawing the focus slowly up the spine and up the arms. Up through the neck. Up through the back of the head and right up through the crown of the head. And become aware of all the space around your body. Feeling the contact of the air against your skin. Feel as if your body is expanding outwards to get even more contact with the air around you. And in this moment, just being very thankful for those things that we don't even think about most of the time. The air, the clean air that we have to breathe. Time to move into stillness. Time to focus on our own well-being. Time to fill up the cup. Thankful for the sunshine when it is out, but also thankful for the rain when it is coming down. Very thankful for our families, for the people in our lives who love us and who we can love as well. And just letting a little smile come onto your face. It's going to be a good day today. And slide your feet down the wall and slowly roll over to one side. Pause here. Pause here. But when you're ready, just allow yourself to come into a comfortable seated position. So I'm going to grab a blanket to place underneath buttocks. That's the way. And just like 3 Buddha stones sitting one on top of the other, find the comfort in your body where you feel the base is nice and solid. You feel the torso is lifting and you feel the crown of the head is perfectly positioned on top of your neck. Closing the eyes just for another minute or so and feeling into this perfect inner balance, this feeling of aliveness through the body. Tuning into that gentle pulse just underneath the skin surface. And this amazing instrument of life of yours, this body of yours, the trillions and trillions of cells, individual cells, the condensed energy that makes up this cloak that you're wearing through this lifetime. Really feeling into it. You are not this body, but this body is your expression, how you feel into, how you experience this lifetime. Take a few longer, smoother, more fulfilling breaths. Feeling the breath scraping at the bottom of your lungs. We have these endorphin receptors. Filling your lungs as if you're filling up a cup. Filling right up until you feel like you're coming to overflow. Then taking the fingertips out to the side and turn the palms to face the ceiling and slowly open the eyes. Become very aware of everything that you see through your peripheral vision, the ground, colors around you. And imagining that light is pouring down into the palms of your hands, the energy of light. And then as you inhale, pull that energy up and around your body, stretch right up towards the ceiling. And then just let it all go. Go, release. A deep breath in. A sighing breath out. And again, big breath in. Hold the top of the breath, stretch right upwards, lift your eyebrows, and then let it go. Fantastic. Taking the hands into the heart center, just acknowledging yourself for coming and taking some time out for you this morning. I hope you have a wonderful day. The love and the light in me bows to the love and the light in you. Thank you, ladies. Namaste. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks, Linda. Lovely as ever.
Thank you, Linda.
Have a lovely day, guys.
Yeah.